Prime Minister Andrew Holness says despite a $70 billion fallout in the government revenue, he believes his administration has done well in managing the economic impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. He was making his contribution to the 2021-2022 budget debate in the House of Representatives on Thursday.
These crises have tested our mettle as a government and as a people, but we have shown courage, dexterity in management, and incredible resilience, of which we can justly be proud as a country. I am confident that we will recover faster, stronger, and better than before.
Mr. Holness notes that Jamaica's public debt has remained flat at 1.7% of GDP over the past year, despite the major fall in government revenue and increase in expenditure as a result of the pandemic.
Even though we lost $2.5 billion in foreign exchange earnings from our tourism export, and I use it in that way because it's an export. We don't think of it as an export, but tourism is an export. That there was only a marginal increase in the difference between our total inflows from exports and other earnings and what we spend on imports and other outflows. This shows an economy that is developing the ability to absorb shocks. Our net international reserves have been maintained at a robust level of over $3 billion. The amount of public debt has remained flat over the year despite the massive fallout in government revenue and increase in government expenditure. Madam Speaker, Jamaica is among only a few countries that have been able to achieve this. Governments globally issued a record $16.3 trillion in new debt in 2020 and are expected to borrow another $12.6 trillion this year. So countries are borrowing to cushion the blow of the pandemic.
While acknowledging the loss in foreign exchange revenue and decrease in tourism arrivals, the Prime Minister was quick to point to the increase in the construction sector.
While the sector was hit hard during April to June 2020 and declined by 14.5%, it grew by 7% in July to September quarter and is forecasted by PIOJ to grow by 6.2% in the October to December 2020 quarter. More new companies and new businesses were registered in the 2021 financial year than ever before in our history. And this says something about what is happening with small businesses and people seeking to formalize themselves in the economy.
Mr. Holness also touted the fact that the island has been able to maintain its highest credit rating in 20 years from Standard & Poor's. This he chalked up to his administration's prudent fiscal management over a number of years.
This is precisely how a vicious debt spiral begins, leading to an increase in our debt again to unsustainable levels, undermining the credibility of government's fiscal policy, putting our international credit ratings at risk and ultimately threatening the prospects of recovery that every Jamaican household is anticipating. Madam Speaker, we can return to growth without unsustainably increasing our borrowing.
Opposition leader Mark Golding and spokesman on finance Julian Robinson have criticized the government's $830.8 billion budget as inadequate and timid. However, in response, Mr. Holness says the government has suspended fiscal targets to support COVID-19 financial measures. To that end, he called on Jamaicans to get vaccinated so that the country can return to full production capacity.